Hey everyone. That's great. Thank you for having me. My name is Danielle Jeffers. I am a graduating senior at Virginia Tech. I'll graduate debt free from Virginia Tech next month, May 17th. And I've created a company with the help of my mentor and my sister to teach other students how to earn scholarships to go to college and graduate debt free. That company is Doe 4 Degrees LLC. That's DOUGH, the number 4 degrees with an S. And we have taught students all around the world how to earn scholarships. Thank you. I appreciate it. A lot of students think that only privileged, um, no, underprivileged or people who had tough situations, they come from tough backgrounds, win scholarships. Like you have to be a minority or you have to be a person of color. Or you have to have a story that'll make you cry. But that's not the case. There are scholarships available for students everywhere. Even if you come from a privileged background where your family they make a lot of money, it doesn't disqualify you from earning scholarships. You just have to look for the ones that matter to you most. And so debunk it by saying put in the work. Like don't use your excuses. Actually look for what you want and then go after it. I would say be prepared to take on scholarships like it's a part-time job. It's the best part-time paying job I've ever had. When I was head down in the scholarship process, my senior year of high school, I was averaging $1,500 an hour in scholarships, and my earnings total more than $200,000. And so, be ready to write essays, late nights and early mornings, but it will pay off when you see how you were able to pay like $100,000 or $200,000 bill with other people's money, allowing you to begin your lifestyle of financial freedom at 22 or 23. I've had a great support system. My family, my mentors in my local Boys and Girls Club, community members from my hometown, staff and faculty, all the people who I know have supported me endlessly, as well as taking advantage of the opportunities in front of me. So sometimes I'm only the only one who turns in a scholarship application, or I'm the only one who asks the hard questions like how does financial aid work and what happens if I win an abundance of scholarships. And so it's really operating in fearlessness. I'm not scared to take on something new or to embrace new territory. Oh gosh. It was going to be way harder than I thought it was. I knew I could achieve graduating debt free. I knew it was going to take a lot of work, but I didn't know that the situations and obstacles that presented themselves would. So I wish I would have had a heads up that, like, hey, there are going to be some big bumps in the roads, some that you couldn't expect it, that you didn't see coming. Just prepare your heart and mind for it and just keep pushing through. Most definitely. I always wanted to go to college. I wanted to go to college and play D1 basketball since the age of 5. But I tore my ACL when I was 14 years old. So my basketball dreams quickly went out the window, but my dreams of going to college didn't. It was interesting for me because I had a different situation in my household where my parents weren't able to send me to college. And they told me that at the beginning of my senior year of high school. And so they were like, basically, Danielle, we can't afford to send you to college, but you still have to go. And so that conversation sparked the thought in my mind, well, if I have to go to college and take out loans, I'm not going. So it looks like I need to figure out a route that allow me to go to college and graduate debt free. And once again, with the support of my community and my family, I was able to apply for more than 30 scholarships, and I earned 14 of them, totaling more than $100,000. And that was in 5 months from January to May during my senior year of high school in 2015. Thank you. My confidence, resiliency, and commitment to being a better person today than I was yesterday, as well as just having no expectations, like operating with zero expectations and letting whatever happens happen. I think you might be on mute. I think people believe scholarships are too much to handle because they don't know what someone who's ever done it before. And the process isn't streamlined. What I mean by that is that there's no one resource, which Doe for Degrees is becoming that resource. Shameless plug, but before that, there wasn't a resource that could teach you how to start from where you are and get where you want to go. And so that's why it makes it hard because you're literally tapping into every lane and resource you have, whether it's your guidance counselor, your parents, your community, churches, whoever, to try to figure out how to win this money so you can go to college. And also, a lot of people quit because you get a lot of rejection. With scholarships, there aren't any guarantees. Just like with a college degree, there aren't any guarantees, and you may get a lot of no's before you get your first yes. So if you haven't built the mental stability or the mental capacity to take those no's head on and say, okay, no means not now. Let me keep going because I know a door is going to open. I just don't know which one it will be. Then your resiliency may not be where it needs to be, which can lead you to quit.
All right. Next part of the interview are the fun questions. First up, it says, "What is your favorite word?"
Growth.
All right. Next, it says, "What are you not very good at?"
What am I not very good at? Good question. That really is a good question. I would say patient sometimes. I want things quicker than they're supposed to come. So I definitely need to work on being more patient.
All right. Next, it says, "If you could have one superpower, what would it be?"
Superpower, it would be the ability to execute my dreams quicker, but still embrace the process just as much.
All right. All right. Give me 1 second. And next question it has on here is, "If you're a food type, what food type would it be?"
Probably a vegetable. I guess no specific vegetable, but it's nutritious, it's colorful, and it tastes good.
All right. Um, well, towards the end of this right now, if you had 10 minutes to explain what it is that you do and what's your end game on what it is that you're doing, what would you tell the people?
Most definitely. I teach students how to earn scholarships to go to college and graduate debt free. I know that a lot of people need that information to have those same results that I've had. being able to go to college, have a phenomenal experience, travel the world while you're a student in college, all on other people's dimes. I didn't put up any of my own money. I used other people's money and resources to do what I've done. And so what my end game is to teach people to see that life is bigger than what society teaches you it is. Like literally you have free will to build and do whatever you want to do, and you have even more free will in a larger capacity when you build a business or you build a concept that other people can tap into around it. And so it's really to teach people that there aren't any limits and that financial freedom is something you can obtain before you turn 25. You don't have to wait till you're 65 to tap into it.
Okay. I see we have some more questions.
So Danielle, this is you know who this is, TMH. That's what they call me. But you know me by name. So as you know, we here on the Conscious Assembly are really big on community, getting out in the community and working with the community. And if I'm not mistaken, and from being able and having the privilege of being a part of and being able to sit in on your many presentations about scholarships, isn't that one of the many criteria that will allow you to shine when it comes to getting in granted scholarships? If you don't mind, tell us a little bit about that and how that process works as far as getting involved in your community.
Most definitely. Yes, scholarships love people who are selfless. Scholarship providers, rather, they love students who are selfless and love to give back to their community. That's one reason why I won so many scholarships was because by the time I began my scholarship process, I had applied. Well, I actually gathered more than 200 hours of community service through my local Boys and Girls Club and my church and other avenues, literally just going out and helping people pick up the trash or setting up an event, serving food, whatever the case was, we were active in our community. And so those qualities and those characteristics of a student, they speak very loudly on paper because most students aren't like that, especially millennials. They're self-centered and usually engrossed in their phones. And if you're the type of student who still is willing to have a heart of service when you need to have it the most, it makes you different and it almost makes you an anomaly today because a lot of people aren't like that. So my suggestions to any students is to make sure you are putting in the work in the classroom, but you're also helping serve your community at least 5 hours a month, and you have to track those hours. And that's something we offer through Dope for Degrees. You can go on our website and download our April 2018 scholarship newsletter. It's free, and inside of that newsletter is a community service log for you to track your hours.
Fantastic. So for those that don't know how we know each other, would you mind giving everyone a brief synopsis how we met and how we know one another?
Most definitely. Y'all call him TMH. I know him as Mr. Thomas. Mr. Thomas is my mentor. He's the mentor I mentioned earlier. He's taught me everything I know about business. My sister introduced me to Mr. Thomas when I was in high school. I was a senior in high school, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, so that was in 2014. She introduced me to him and said, "Hey, I think he would be a great mentor for you." He started mentoring me throughout my scholarship process, gave me some pivotal information and advice when I was applying for the Youth Financial Literacy Foundation Scholarship. And if you are looking for scholarships to apply for, definitely check that out. Again, it's Youth Financial Literacy Foundation Scholarship. You can find more information at yflfoundation.org. This was in 2014. I was applying for that scholarship, and the company was giving away a top prize of $6,000, second place of $4,000, third place of $2,000, and I think they gave out 20, 1,500, or $1,000 scholarships that year. And he helped me, and his help and my sister's help, it earned me a $6,000 scholarship and an all expense paid trip to Las Vegas, Nevada in 2015 to go get that scholarship. And so we actually met in Vegas and celebrated the moment. But that was only the beginning because we've worked so closely together. He helped me found Dope for Degrees, my scholarship coaching company that I've been talking about. He's been so instrumental in my life and not only teaching me how to be a business owner, but also how to be a better person and how to transform lives by the way you treat people, how to treat people with so much generosity and care that they'll never forget you. And so, one of the best people I know.
Yep, and the check is in the mail. So, again, because Auchtoctones Assembly is all about one indigenous people coming across information about being indigenous, Auchtoctonous, Native American, American Indian, whatever phrase you want to call it. Um, we're gonna switch gears and talk about your journey through your genealogy process. Um, so tell us a little bit about that process and how you got started on that, and where you were at this particular point.
Once again, it goes back to you because you were doing your research and it encouraged me to do my research and figure out who are my ancestors, what are my roots. Because I had heard a lot that we had Indian in my blood, like Indian in our family, but no one really told me who was that ancestor who was Indian or what type of tribe we're tied to. No one told me. And so you said, do your research, ask your family. And so I talked to my mom, my grandmother, I talked to my great aunt, and my great aunt had a, like, I call it a database of our family history. She had the family tree, she had the names, the last names, birth dates, death dates. She had the tribe. My great grandmother is a full blooded, well, was a full blooded Cherokee Indian, and I also have Indian on my father's side, on my mother's side. I mean, it's all in between. And so I've connected myself and realized that I'm a member of the Saponi Catawba Nation. And learning that opened my eyes. Learning that I'm Sioux and that what I was taught in school isn't necessarily my truth changed everything for me. Because now I look at life differently and I look for the answers that are my answers and not what the school or an institution would tell me is right.
Okay. Now you had a very interesting conversation with your father about your genealogy, and this was told to you when you was very young because you was going to visit a grave site. And it had something to do with what about your last name, school. So could you tell us a little bit about one where the area that gravesite is, a little bit about your the Jefferson side of the family, and what some of the teachers were doing to some of the students according to what your father told you.
Oh yeah, that's a crazy story. A lot of my family, we come from Caswell County in North Carolina, and so my father, we used to go out to the home church of my family in Caswell County when I was younger on Father's Day because his father was buried out there. His mother was still living at the time. And I think I was about 11 or 12. We went out there, and every time we went out there, there was this weird, not weird, but there was this feeling of connection inside of me. It was like a spiritual connection that I couldn't shake. And I'm being serious. Like I felt something. I was like, I feel like I'm at home. I feel peace. I feel serenity, and I just feel like I'm at ease. And I hadn't felt that way anywhere else before. And so my father, we were walking out of the church that Father's Day and walking toward my grandfather's gravesite, and he was telling me, back in the day, they used to make my ancestors spell their names differently. So like my last name is Jeffers. It's spelled Jeffers, but they used to, the teachers who were white in school teaching students who were melanated used to tell them to spell their last names Jeffries, Jeffferys, or Jeffries. And so my family started having different spellings of our last names when they weren't accurate. And so they were literally telling us to spell our names differently when they were really spelled one way. And so it just showed that people go to whatever extent to make you not realize who you are.
Yeah, and I'm sure when you were 11 and you heard that, that didn't make any sense to you then, and I'm sure now that we've done some research, going to find out that the school system was very instrumental in indoctrinating us. It makes a lot of sense now. With that being said, getting back to school because you become very influential in Virginia Tech to say the very least. You recently got involved and reached out to one of the communities out there, which are what we would determine or call American Indian. I mean, Native American. So can you tell us a little bit about that experience, how you found out about them, and what some of your plans are?
Most definitely, yes. So Virginia Tech, It's located in Blacksburg, Virginia. For anyone who's not aware, that's in Southwest Virginia, closer to West Virginia than it is to North Carolina. Um, and so the campus itself, it's home to more than 35,000 students. And we have a large population of international students from different backgrounds. But I've always been aware of the community centers and been active in a couple of them on campus. And those centers are centered around ethnic heritage, or a certain type of people, whether that be African Americans, Asian Americans, Latinos, LGBTQ. But there's also an American Indigenous Cultural Center at Virginia Tech. And so it was actually founded on campus in 2016, which was my sophomore year of school. And I was aware of it, but I didn't really plug into it because I didn't think I fit. I didn't think it was for me because I didn't know anything about my ancestry. And so when I started doing my genealogy and realized that I'm actually connected, I plugged right in and talked to as many people as possible. And they're doing some amazing work. Virginia Tech actually sits on Tudelo and Monacan land, which was interesting. And now I think back to when I stepped onto that campus and like, hey, this feels like home. This feels good to me. I wonder if it has any correlation between the way I felt when I went to my home church in Caswell County. But the community at Virginia Tech, the student population is about 30 members, and there's a student organization called Native at VT, and they're doing a lot of work to make sure they're recognized and respected at Virginia Tech and in the surrounding areas. And there's a lot of work to be done, and I plan on to contribute and educate the community and help in any way that I can because you definitely have to pay respect to the land you sit on and the ancestors who have basically established what we now take
Between the way I
and
felt when I
embrace
went to my
today
home
at
church.
Virginia Tech.
Cool. So it sounds like you're going to be busy with that community and a couple other communities because you've also reached out to some other American Indian communities on other campuses. Is that correct?
Yes, that is UNC Pembroke, trying to see how I can help their students as well beyond earning scholarships, but seeing how I can be of service to those communities.
Okay, phenomenal. Let's see. Um, Switching gears a little bit because at the end of the day, we don't want to just go to a tribe with our hand out. We want to go to a tribe in all tribes because, like we always say here on the Conscious Assembly, you do your genealogy, do your family tree, tie yourself back to a tribe, and we'll help your tribe. Now, from being that you are in what we would call a unique position, meaning that you're graduating from college debt free, and you're not going seeking a job. You're starting your business. Is that correct?
Yes, continue to build my business.
Okay. So, with that being said, because a lot of people are employees, and there's nothing wrong with employees by any stretch of imagination, but there is a different mindset. So, being that you were in an institution that is dedicated to grooming, if you will, employees, what were some of your experiences on the college campus while you were interacting with your students and while you was building your business, because you were building your business at the same time you was a full-time student on campus? So can you share a little bit about the differences in mindset between somebody that's an entrepreneur on a college campus versus a typical student?
Almost definitely. Building a business in college is not easy. It is not a joke. It is not something to play with. It is extremely difficult, but it's also worth it. There's a term I like to use, student entrepreneur. I don't use that term lightly. A student entrepreneur is very similar to a student athlete in terms that a student athlete, they're a student first, but they also have responsibilities to represent the university well in athletics, which usually brings in the most revenue to the university, which means they get a larger platform to share their personal brand. Now, most people are aware that the NCAA doesn't allow college athletes to monetize their personal brand. But as a student entrepreneur, I have a different experience because not only was I building my personal brand and having the support of Virginia Tech, which led to a lot of press and growth in my company, but also I was able to monetize my personal brand. But doing that is not something that's easy to do while having a full time course load, especially when you look at at school and college classes, that's an easy 50 to 60 hours a week for school alone. And then I'm building a business, not having any prior experience in building a business as a college student. And it takes a different mindset. It takes, once again, resilience and perseverance because a lot of my friends didn't understand it. I would get up at 5 o'clock in the morning just to do work for Doe for Degrees before I had to get to class and do work for school and stay up until 2 a.m. to continue to build my business, only to sleep 3 hours and do the same thing. And that was not just a 1 year thing, that was all 4 years because I was dedicated to seeing this business prosper. I was dedicated to being able to have financial freedom and being in control of my life. And so my path was completely different from that of a typical college student. And the fact that I wasn't looking for an opportunity, I was giving opportunities because I've had a couple of interns and a couple of students work with me through my company. And that speaks volumes when you look at the student who's typically going to career fairs and they're looking for internships themselves. And I'm not trying to I'm not bragging or anything or being boastful, but I'm saying you have to look 20 years ahead as a student entrepreneur. You have to look beyond what you're going to do Friday night, who you're going to turn up with on Saturday. You have to look at like, okay, the moves I'm making now is building the rest of my life because this is really my story. And what we hear so often is people like Mark Zuckerberg and Bill Gates who dropped out of college to build their business. But I almost dropped out twice, to be honest with you. But with the help of my sister and my mentor, I didn't. I stayed in college. One, because they said dough for degrees is dough for degrees for a reason. It's because you're supposed to graduate debt free. It's not dough for dropouts. So if you drop out, then what's the point of having a company? And two, I was already getting paid to go to school because I had an abundance in scholarships, which meant I received refund checks. So why would I skip out on the free money? Why not just learn how to balance the two? And so it required a lot of growth and perseverance. But now that it's complete, the chapter is ending, and there are so many more that are beginning.
You said something interesting I wanted to touch on real quick. Um, what advice would you give to the ones that will follow and the ones that's in your age group when they to combat with the distractions that you would face along this journey?
Almost definitely. You have to, it's a clear decision. What do you want? Do you want to embrace drugs, sex, alcohol, money during this 4 years? Or do you want to embrace prosperity, financial freedom, and a lifestyle of complete and utter control? And it's not that you can't balance the two. Yes, you can. But you have to decide which one is most important and understand how much you're going to limit your time with the other one. And so just make a clear decision. And once you make that decision for you, not for anyone else. And if you made that decision, you need to hold yourself 110% accountable at all times.
Quick question, Danielle. Being that you've started your journey with understanding tribes, you actually sit on the board of one of my companies. So you understand bylaws. You've actually helped put together the business plan, not only for Doe for Degrees, but for Elite Entrepreneurs Circle and Foundation. So you understand that. You understand tribes and how they work. So let me ask you this: for those that are wanting to get a better understanding of why we talk about the Constitution, why we talk about bylaws, why we talk about going the route that we got kicked out of, what would you say are some correlations between running a business and running or being in a tribe?
Everyone has to be on the same page. You taught me this, Thomas, and I carry this with me everywhere I go. If it's not written, it's not real. And that goes with everything. If there aren't any recorded notes from the meeting, it's not that it didn't happen, but there isn't a cohesive documentation or a collective agreement of what was said and what's going to move forward. And so, yes, everyone has different opinions and different plans and different ideas, but there has to be compromise in a collective decision that's on paper, that's written and it's real, so that in the event that something tragic happens or in the event that someone um, surpasses or gets to step up to the plate, they have clear documentation of what was said and done, and it's not ambiguous, but it helps them move forward quickly. And so I think it has to be written because you want to be on the same page. When you're not on the same page, you're wasting time trying to get on the same page. So why not just make it clear and let's move forward?
Thank you for that. Um, when it comes to being the age that you are, um, many of us old heads would consider you young, but you definitely have what I would call a seasoned spirit.
Thank
Um,
you.
what has been your experience with coming across entrepreneurs, other entrepreneurs, and working with individuals that are um, management from companies? Because you do a lot of speaking engagements, so therefore you work with and you speak with business owners and you speak with individuals that are in a management position from a job. What are some of the things that one must be wary of when they're talking to somebody that's an employee versus somebody that is a business owner? What are some of the things that you should not take for granted or you should not assume?
Definitely coming from a business owner perspective, don't expect the people you're working with to be on the same page or have the same thought process you. I think as business owners, we're in a unique position because we tend to look at the overall picture, not just what needs to get done today, but if this doesn't get done today, who is this going to affect tomorrow? And if this doesn't get done correctly, how is it going to impact the organization? And so it's a not a play by play, but it's a game plan. It's let's look at this whole thing all right out and see what we need to do and how we need to move. So don't expect or don't assume that other people have the same thought process you, and don't assume that everyone has the same morals and values because they don't. So make that clear. And like I said, if it's not written, it's not real. So what are the objectives? What are your objectives for this event or for this occasion or for this business? And what are my objectives? And where can we meet in the middle so that they are now our objectives? That's one thing. And looking at it from an age perspective, I've been questioned and second guessed a lot, and I take no hits to the head or no hits to the heart by it. I'm 22. I'm a melanated woman. I'm American Indian. I don't look like your typical, stereotypical woman at 22 you see on TV. That's not me. And so when I come to the table, people are like, "Where did you come from? What? Who's got you to this position, or what's got you to this position?" And ask me any question you want to. But I think for a young entrepreneur who is entering a lot of boardrooms, sitting at a lot of big tables and having these big conversations, you have to humble yourself, take the questions head on, and don't take anything, don't let it eat at you in any way.
Awesome. So now that you know what tribe you're a part of, because your card is in the mail from what we understand, so you will be getting your card soon. So
Yes.
the first question I want to ask you is, now that you have been your I guess your ethnic status, and I'm using air quotes, has been corrected, and you know who you are, how has that changed the way you interact with other melanated people, whether they know who they are or not?
Um, I think when I first realized I could have, and I didn't because I didn't talk to anyone immediately, I could have come off very aggressive and very demeaning because of all the research I'd done. And at the root of that research, my emotion was anger because it was like I was so confused for so long. Um, and I was confused because the people who did the most harm to my people told me the wrong thing, and my people didn't know what was right. And so it was anger and frustration from living in a lie. Um, but I take it with grace now. I have a different approach. I'm clear and honest about what I believe and what I know, and I give other people the chance to ask me questions, but I also educate them on the historical facts that I have that support my decisions and my awareness. And it's their call. They make the decision how they want to move from that. But I'm not gonna come forward and say, "Hey, you need to know this and you need to da da da." No, but I'll tell you what I do and how I operate. And if you're curious to know more, I'm more than happy to let you know.
Awesome. Um, Bones, do you have any other questions for Danielle?
Um, no, just basic information to where people can find out more about you, and people want to support what you're doing.
Most definitely. Once again, thank you all for the opportunity. I have enjoyed this. I think this has been one of my favorite interviews so far. If you want to connect with me, I'm on LinkedIn. You can search Danielle Jeffers. That's DANIELLE Jeffers, JEFFERS. And connect with me on LinkedIn or subscribe to Dough for Degrees YouTube channel. That's DOUGH, the number 4 degrees with an S. Subscribe to our YouTube channel for social media. I recently stepped away from Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, my personal accounts and my business accounts, to just focus on putting out quality content on YouTube. And you can also do more research on what we do by checking out dough4degrees.com, DOUGH, the number 4 degrees with an S.com. We have some products and services there.
All right, all right. Any more questions from you, TMH?
No, but I would like to say, I've been in a position very fortunate to be around a lot of intelligent people. I've been mentored by some of the best. I've had the opportunity to mentor a great number of people, and it is very humbling when you get to mentor someone like Danielle, who will do what you ask the way that you ask it, and she does it from a standpoint. She's very humble and respectful, as you can hear. But her mindset is, I'm gonna do what you ask to see if it works, and if it don't work, then we'll have a conversation about it. But when it comes to mentoring people, as we all have mentored people before, especially when you're mentoring individuals that have had some history and some background, they come with preconceived notions. So when you're mentoring someone that's hungry for information like Danielle, it makes my job that much easier, and it makes her success that much quicker. So much so to the fact of the matter is that she has surpassed my knowledge of not only business, but just because she's had so many different exposures, to the fact of where I am no longer really her mentor. I'm more like a partner, and now she's mentoring me in areas that I am weak in. And that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to mentor people to the point where we don't, they don't need us. They've surpassed us, and then they can come back and teach us. So
Facts.
that's where we're at. So you figure someone that's 22 years old who has mentors and who's also mentoring someone that's old enough to be her pops. So I'm extremely proud of her, and I know she's going to be very successful and going to go far. And you know, again, it's one of those situations to where if you reach out to people and you help them, you will always get back more than what you give. And that has
Mm-hmm.
definitely been the case with Danielle. So I want to say thank you, Danielle. And I definitely appreciate you allowing me to be a mentor of yours, and I'm very proud of you.
Thank you. Much respect.
And it goes to prove again, it's like you said, she trusted in the formula and the process, didn't complain about it, applied it, and seen how it worked for her. Now she's taking what she learned from you and giving back. So I mean, like you said, what more could you ask for? If nobody can't take what you do and apply it to others to be successful, then how good is it really? So I commend both of you. You for taking the time out to give back, and Danielle for taking the time out to listen, applying it, and also giving back to her community and her time. So much respect to both of you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
And on that note, this has been another Autonomous Assembly production. This is our community spotlight, where at least twice a week we're going to try to do our best to highlight people of the community to show that there are people in this indigenous American Indian community that's doing way more than just talking, but actually putting the work in, giving them a time to be seen and be heard. So you know you're not alone in this. There's a lot of us constantly putting the work in. Any closing remarks, TMH?
As I always say, learn your family tree, doing your genealogy, tie back to your tribe on the land. You find your tribe, will help your tribe. Give back to your community. Let everybody know that looks like you. Just ask them one simple question. Hey, have you heard that you have Indian in your family? And then go from there. It doesn't have to be a debate situation. Like Danielle says, you ask them some questions. If they take to it, great. If they don't take to it, great. But fact of the matter is you did your part. And again, at the end of the day, no one's going to have more impact on your community than you. I can have a great influence on YouTube or these other social media channels, but if I'm neglecting the community that I live in, think about this. Had I not decided to reach out to Danielle, what would have happened? If I'd have just stayed on YouTube and done only YouTube stuff and never reached out to Danielle, what would have happened? So think about that. Reach out to your community, talk to people, make a difference. And I relinquish the mic.
And on that note, it been fun, and we'll see you in the Rising for the Cab Grand Rising show. Peace.